Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attended with an active ear infection in their left ear. In addition, they also had some earwax that's also become infected. So it is possible for earwax to be infected. So this is a collection of earwax, dead skin, and a bit of discharge, but you can see here, I'm just using the Zollner suction probe. Even at this very early stage of the procedure, the patient could hear it significantly better, because you may have seen that when I was using the suction probe a moment or so ago, I created an opening whereby the eardrum is now visible, and that instantly relieves the pressure for the patient and it allows some sound to trickle through towards the eardrum. So we're just probably the midsection of the ear canal now, and I'm just hovering over. I'm trying to avoid making contact with the bony part of the ear canal, because that can be really uncomfortable for the patient. So the ear canal is made up in thirds. This is for people who are new followers to the channel. If you're a regular follower and subscriber, you've probably heard this a few times already. But the anatomy of the ear canal is as such that it is of a sigmoid structure and shape. So an S, like a snake, and it's approximately, say, 2.5 to 3 centimeters in length. And the outer third of the ear canal is made up of cartilage and a thick layer of skin, about millimeters in thickness, and then around a centimeter into the ear canal. So after the first third, so the inner 2/3, the ear canal is then made up of bone, and the bone is covered of a very thin layer of skin, which is less than, probably about 0.1 millimeters in thickness, about 1/10 of the skin that lines the outer cartilaginous portion of the ear canal. And that makes the bony part of the ear canal exclusively sensitive. So if you do make contact with the bony part of the ear canal, it's just a layer of skin, and it's a really, really thin layer of skin. And so the bone is really exposed, which makes it vulnerable and susceptible to trauma and discomfort if it's touched. So the reason why the outer layer of skin is a lot thicker is because the outer layer of skin, that's about 1 millimeter in thickness, that's where all the hair follicles are found. So there's a subcutaneous layer. Whereas the inner 2/3 of the ear canal, it's just the epithelial, the outer layer of skin. In the outer third of the ear canal, you have a subcutaneous layer. So the root of the hair follicle submerges deep into the skin, and attached to the hair follicles are the sebaceous glands. So the sebaceous glands secrete an oily, fatty substance, the same substance that's secreted on our scalp, called sebum. And so sebum is made up of a collection of organic compounds such as alcohols, squalene, cholesterols, saturated and unsaturated chains of fatty acids. So all these ingredients together form sebum. And sebum is designed to moisturize the skin in the ear canal, so nourishing it and hydrating it. But it also provides almost like an antibacterial, anti-pathogen layer, so it helps to inhibit bacterial and fungi growth because it's slightly acidic in nature. And then if you have the gene mutation, which gives you a modified sweat gland called the apocrine gland, which is the same sweat gland found under our armpit, if you do have that specific gene mutation, attached to the follicle of the hair is a ceruminous gland, and that secretes an oily sweat. So the oily sweat contains quite a high concentration of lipids, and it's odorless sweat at first, but as that sweat begins to evaporate and bacteria start feeding on it, it then becomes, you do get a bit of an odour, an acidic odour that is expelled from it. So earwax is actually a combination of dead skin cells that fall in the ear, dead hair in the ear, and sebum. So that's your normal earwax, and the concentration of that is approximately 60% dead skin, and the remaining 40% combination of sebum and all its organic compounds. However, if you have the genetic mutation for the sweat gland, so as I said, the ceremunous gland, also known as an alpocrine gland, that means you secrete more of an oily substance in your ear, so your earwax becomes actually wetter. So without the ceremunous gland, your earwax is defined as being dry because it's 60% made up of dry matter, dead skin cells. But if you've got the oily sweat, the ceremunous glands, then you've got a high concentration of sweat and lipids, which then makes your earwax more wetter because you've got more of a wetter concentration compared to dry skin cells. So it's probably more 60% in favour of oils and lipids as opposed to, and then the remaining 40% of that wax is made up of dead skin. So yeah, just a bit of if that interests you. Also, a lot of questions we get asked is how. I'm just letting you watch the video whilst I'm talking a bit off tangent. So I'll just kind of summarise what we're doing. So as you can see, the eardrum's fully visible now, and I'm just trying to get as much of this sticky debris discharge, dead keratin off the canal wall and off the eardrum as I possibly can, as safely as possible. I don't want to cause any trauma to the patient's, any further trauma to the patient's ear because it's already infected. The patient will need some antibiotic medication from their GP, which we've written to. Advise the patient to keep their ear dry because getting water in the ear can exacerbate any underlying infection or, in fact, cause an infection to be triggered. And just, as I said, using the fine end, just slowly but surely, just trying to be as gentle as I can, remove as much as possible. We're not going to get every little speck of debris out. It's just not possible to do that, but I'm going to try our best to get the most out as safely and efficiently as possible. So one of the questions we get asked is, how does earwax come out of the ear? Now the answer to that is that in the majority of our ears, the ear is self-cleansing. And what I mean by that is that layer of skin I was referring to, not only does it line the thicker layer of skin, so the skin that's millimetres in thickness, lines the outer third of the ear canal. Then the inner 2/3 of the skin, it's a lot thinner, so it's 0.1 millimetres in thickness. But that skin that lines the inner 2/3 of the ear canal also makes up the first of the 3 membranes of the eardrum. So the eardrum itself is made up of 3 membranes. The lateral layer of the membranes of the eardrum, which is facing us, as I said, it's the same skin, the epithelial skin, that lines the inner 2/3 of the ear canal. The innermost membrane, so the medial membrane, is a mucosa membrane. So the mucosa is a type of skin that's kind of wet and secretory. It's like the same skin that lines the inside of our nose. And then the middle layer is a layer of fibrous and connective tissue. That's what gives the eardrum its rigidity and strength. Now, the skin has evolved in our ears to shed and come out the ear as it dies and migrates. So, if you've got a bit of dead skin on your arm, for example, that skin, as it dies, it will naturally shed and fall away from your body and into your surroundings. That could be when you're having a shower or any friction or physical movement. So if just the simple act of putting your clothes on will rub the skin and any dead skin will fall away. Now, if that happened in the ear, if the skin in the ear just died and fell and collected in the ear, then our ears will be constantly full of dead skin and it'll be blocked and we'll get infections. So the skin in the ear has evolved to naturally migrate sideways outwards towards the entrance as it dies and sheds. So the skin begins to shed from the centre of the eardrum. And I always compare it to a pond where you then drop a pebble in the centre of the pond and you get these ripple effects. Imagine those ripples being dead skin and they move outwards towards the entrance. And as the skin migrates out of the ear, any wax sitting on its surface is naturally expelled. So the rate of that migration is between 1.5 millimetres and 3 millimetres a month. So again, I hope you found that, any new viewers, I hope you found that interesting. Now, you may have seen bottom right of the screen, I've got an image of the clear olive oil ear spray. So you may be aware that I have been recently appointed and invited to become the healthcare advisor of Clear, which is an ear care products brand based in the UK, and actually not too far from where I am, which is ironic and convenient. And I'm just their ambassador, and we are selling these olive oil spray drops via our Clearwax website. So if you visit our website, which is www.clearwax.co.uk, and we've got an online shop where you can purchase these olive oil sprays. There is also some other products which I'll talk about hopefully in another video. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Take care, keep well, and speak soon. Bye.